Yo, it's your boy Logos, and tell him yet to Pearly give no response to some people like Auburn Preach, Destiny, and a few others that think she's a grifter or doesn't know what she's talking about. I really don't care about beefs unless it's just funny and I can make some content off of it. But this should be interesting because people think she's just a grifter or she doesn't really have any knowledge. So I'm curious to see what she got to say or if she's going to call them out on any stuff they did that was wrong. Let's see.
You know what I did? I decided to apologize. And see, would the people be happy?
I don't want to talk to this bitch. Why I put her in the primary? She going to general.
And by the way, this sets the tone for just Pearly things. She spends this entire time acting like a dumb ditzy blonde.
Do I think she's a grifter? Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I don't think she believes half the stuff that she says that comes out of her mouth. Her friends, her family, come out and say stuff that she certain
It's about her being culturally white.
I don't know. You just see the switch up in general over the last 2 years, and it's been fascinating to see the kind of life.
Listen, man, I hate these fucking black channels that make everything blackly black. Just react to the content, give your perspective. You don't have to be this whole, I don't know, crusader or social justice warrior all the time. I really don't care about that stuff. I don't care if you're black, white, Spanish, or Asian. If you make sense, you make sense. If you make nonsense, I'm gonna say it's nonsense.
Because black whiteness is raised and seeded in the lost boundaries of the AKA lost cause narrative. Do we really want to say on the lost cause? These
I might have to react to this yelling loud woman about her being white because that just sounds funny.
we talk about her blonde hair
And this is why, guys, never apologize to the mob because they don't want your apology. They don't care about you, and they just want to see if they can control you. What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel, and welcome to Selective Outrage. So today, I'm going to be talking about how the internet gets selectively outraged. So if you guys are familiar with the Fresh and Fit and Abba and Preach videos, Myron, maybe like a year ago now, he had a video go viral, and I mean stupid viral, of him insulting Preach's wife. Abba and Preach are another YouTube channel, and they do reaction videos.
This Preacher's married, probably to a fucking beluga somewhere, and they're talking shit.
At first glance, you might think that Myron is crazy. I mean, why is this man insulting Preach's wife? And when they do the reaction videos, they really don't tell the full story. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is a lot of times what you see with these reaction channels is they take a clip of a full conversation. And a lot of reaction channels are looking for clips to take you out of context and not give the full story, and they are lying to you. Now, let's talk about Fresh and Fit. So, Abba and Preach went on Fresh and Fit's podcast, and I think as a podcast host, when you have other YouTubers and you try to treat them cordially, you bring them into your studio, you introduce them to your staff, you usually, a lot of times you might be hanging out before, hanging out after, and you feel like you're at least friendly, like friends with these people. And what happened was a couple weeks later, Abba and Preach did a hit piece on Myron. And the way they did it was kind of sneaky. Like, they said that, you know, we were just attacking ideas, paying for box.
And then went on dates, then found out she's on the Sugar Baby site. Then when it comes out that she's on Seeking Arrangements, then he actually looks at live stream where he's like, no, we met on Seeking. Like, everything is smoke and mirrors, right? Which is fine. At the end of the day, if you want to sell an image and you got to lie to do it, do it.
Like which ones that they should use or whatever. So like these are the ones you guys got to be using, all right? You got to be using Tinder, you got to be using Bumble, you got to be using Hinge, you got to be using if you live in a Latin-based city, like we live in Miami, so Chispa is good here. You know what I'm saying? Which is a Spanish joint. You know, which it's more like for Latinos. I don't like Plenty of Fish, but I've heard some people use it with some success, and then you got OkCupid as well. But the point is that you just need to have multiple fishing rods in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, this is definitely a numbers game.
I got a homeboy.
That is true.
Go ahead. Cleans up on Plenty of Fish.
Yeah, you know.
He's probably listening to this right now, and those be some of the lowest of the low. But he does it, man. I don't know. How
Yeah, you could definitely clean up on these apps, and then you got Seeking Arrangement, which is like a sugar daddy site, but like that's a whole other. We'll probably have to do a video on that.
The slimy thing was they were like passive aggressively insulting the man, and men just don't respond well to that. Like you bring someone into your studio, you treat them well, then they leave and do a whole hit piece on you saying that you're capping, say you don't get girls like that. Like, I think anyone normal can see how that's disrespectful. This is the problem that we get into. It's that nobody cares about what's true.
First, I just want to say, I think there is something wrong if Alba didn't say this stuff while he was on the podcast with Fresh and Fit, and then he did make a video about it. I think he just said it in front of his face. That way he could have got a response and they could have had discussion on it, and then they could have both got clarification. If he still want to do a video after that, that's perfectly fine, but I think talking about it in the studio when you're in front of the man's face would have been the better way of going about things.
Because, 10 million people saw Myron freaking out, but nobody saw his explanation in a stream that gets 150,000 views. And that's the problem with the culture today, is you can paint an entire narrative about somebody and it not be true. It wasn't like Myron insulted his wife out of thin air. Myron felt disrespected. And, I don't agree with insulting someone's wife. I think that's quite rude. Personally, with the internet, for the most part, I've learned to just ignore stuff. But at a certain point, you want to defend yourself. And a lot of times what these reaction channels do is they take clip. They paint a narrative and they don't tell the full story. And a lot of times these reaction channels haven't even done the research to make a full conclusion on the story. My point to the audience is that this is dishonest. They are lying to you and they don't care about the truth. They care about clicks and views. So the last couple of days, oh my gosh, it has been so stressful. So I had a hit piece go out on me from, the quote unquote, the Black Manosphere. And the Black Manosphere is a very pro-Black part of YouTube. And I can't acknowledge that. I would say, some of the Black Manosphere is part of my audience. And what happened this week was they pulled a clips from an interview I had with Nick Fuentes. Now, a lot of these men have been making hit pieces on me for months. For months. They have been saying, oh, you shouldn't listen to this girl. This is your new leader. She's this. Yeah, they would just make up all this stuff. So they have just been waiting for me to slip up and say something that they can construe as, because I'm a woman, you can't pull me as sexist. So, personally, I follow things that interest me. I always just do what I'm interested in. And I heard about this guy named Nick Fuentes, who is a far-right extremist. He has been banned on everything, even his bank account. I invited him on. He offered to fly himself here. Now, during this interview, we touched on the topic of slavery. And what these reactors did is they were trying to make me look racist by pulling clips I said out of context. Now, I mentioned in this interview that all of these thoughts were from Thomas Sowell. I read Sowell, so he talks about, oh God, this is going to get me in trouble, how slavery was a global institution, and the word slave actually came from Slavic, which is white.
Wherever a separate people were enslaved, they were disdained or despised, whether they were different by country, religion, caste, race, or tribe. The Europeans who were enslaved in North Africa were despised and abused because they were Christians in a Muslim region of the world, where they were called Christian dogs. Race became the most visible difference between slaves and slave owners in the Western Hemisphere. As distinguished historian Daniel J. Borston put it, now for the first time in Western history, the status of slave coincided with a difference of race. To make racism the driving force behind slavery is to make a historically recent factor the cause of an institution which originated thousands of years earlier. This enshrinement of racism as an overarching causal factor accords far more with current instrumental agendas than with history.
A guy that's...
First, let me say I'm a huge fan of Thomas Sowell. I like his work. I read his books, and the stuff that he says is backed with historical evidence, published research, going back hundreds of years, going back documents from the 1800s, 1900s, such and so forth. If you like Thomas Sowell and his content, I have a lot more of his stuff, at least like 20 or 30 videos at this point. And probably I just uploaded 2 more videos on this stuff today. So if you like Thomas Sowell, I got plenty of that stuff on this channel.
Written like 80 books on this topic. And now you can agree with Thomas Sowell, you can disagree with Thomas Sowell, and you can even say maybe I didn't use the correct words, but that doesn't make me a racist person. But the problem is all of these reactors are just sitting there waiting for you to slip up and to paint a narrative about you. And that's what I've seen people do to Fresh and Fit for the past 3 years. My whole point is that these reaction channels are just sitting there looking for you to say the wrong thing. They're looking for you to slip up, and they're not going to things in good faith. And the other issue you get with content creators, especially reaction channels, is they turn on you at a dime. And that's what Abba and Preach did to Fresh and Fit. They're hanging out in the studio, and the next week they're saying, oh, you're capping, you're capping, you're capping. And, you know, Abba and Preach proceed to make like 20 videos on them, and Fresh and Fit didn't say anything. Now, guys, you know, anyone, I don't even think I've worked with Fresh and Fit in like 2 years. I'm not even saying this to defend them, but I just see what the reaction channels are doing. It's like a system. And they want to paint content creators a certain way. They want to make Sneeko look stupid. They want Fresh and Fit to look sexist and racist. And now they've come for me. They want me to look racist. And there was a guy named Rollo Tomasi, and Rollo Tomasi was a guy in the red pill space. And at one point, I really wanted him to mentor me. But he said, it's not personal, but I can't associate with your brand. And I didn't really understand what he meant at the time. But what these reaction channels will do is if you have a controversial person on your platform, they will start to insinuate that you believe what they believe. And they'll look for a video of you saying, yes, you joking with that person, you just being polite to that person, and paint a narrative about you being racist, about you being sexist, about you being homophobic, whatever narrative they want to push. With
I think that's very true. Depend on this individual and the situation. But I'm of the opinion that you can come on my show. If I was to have a show, I would probably never have a show. But if I was to have one, you could come on my show and we can have a conversation and we can debate back and forth. That's perfectly fine. Don't give a damn who you are, your color, your race, your gender, anything of it. I'm gonna let who I want on my show. If you don't like it, don't fucking watch. Like, I don't know. I don't know what these people think they are to dictate what somebody else or who somebody else can talk to. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We all for saying that Black people or any people is free to do and talk and say what they want, but at the same time you want to censor them when they talk to somebody or say something you don't agree with. I just don't get it. It's weird. It's the same ones that try to act so pro-Black, but at the same time when they ignore how we can help ourselves, which I talk about so much, you know, crime, I don't know, marriage, 2 parents in the household, emphasizing skills, taking accountability within our own communities, giving a damn about our own communities in the inner city, not throwing trash on the ground, not leaving our own streets, apartments, places that we live at dirty and filthy. Stuff like that we could take accountability for and take pride in our neighborhood. Maybe we could turn the quote unquote ghetto into not a ghetto because we can do the right things so we can have more wealth in those areas. And then we can have nicer people living there because those people there have nicer values, not because they got kicked out or gentrification, but those people culture or their mindset change to a type of way that has them being more productive, more happy, and producing stuff that makes themselves more productive or happier for themselves and society. That's what I'm about. Not this whole calling people racist or blaming the white man or the government for everything. There is stuff to blame the government for, but I'm not always going to go to that argument. It just seems like a cheap cop-out.
Rollo, I didn't understand what he meant at the time, but now I do. The issue is if you associate with certain people, and me coming into the space, I'm like, I'll talk to anyone. What's the big deal? I mean, I bring in randoms to my studio every night. Like, who cares? But the issue you get into is the reaction channels, they're like vultures. Well, they'll come in and try to make you look a certain way and try to make you paint a certain way, be painted a certain way for clicks and views, even if they know damn well you're not that way. Back to Nick Fuentes. I did a podcast with this man named Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, again, far extremist. He doesn't believe in race mixing, doesn't believe in that, like, thinks the was over exaggerated. And we're talking about the idea of people using an atrocity to control you. And if you listen to it, like 20 minutes around where we started talking about slavery. You will see the context, but the reaction channels either don't want to see the context or they're too lazy because they're afraid of their audience. Because if they watch the full video, but most of their audience has seen the 1 minute clip, they can't go against their audience. That's the problem.
I think that's a big part of the problem. And I would say for myself as a content creator too, even if I'm very, very small when compared to the people that she's talking about, if like something is like 20 minutes long, you're less inclined to actually go and do the whole conversation because you're trying to get that clip or whatever, to try to hit that sweet spot in the amount of time that would keep people's attention. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Oftentimes I take the course of, if it's too long for me to get the context, or it's not interesting enough, or I can't cut it in such a way that I can get the full context and make it interesting and make sense for everybody else, I probably won't just talk about it. I'll probably just leave it alone for a while until I can find a better way of talking about it. And I had to do that on a bunch of stuff, but it's better doing that than painting somebody as evil or, I don't know, just getting stuff for clicks. But that's just me.
Now we get to a point where it doesn't even matter what's true or what's false. It literally doesn't matter because, you know, the reaction channels can make a 1 million view video about me or make a, 10 million view TikTok about me, even if they know that that's not true. And how often do the reaction channels come back and say, you know what, we effed up. You know what, we painted a false narrative. You know what? And they never do, because what incentive did they have to do that? Because then their audience wouldn't trust them. One thing they said that I said was that I was comparing Black Americans to African Americans. Now, one, I didn't even know about this animosity towards the two, but I was simply just commenting how much I love my employees, how hard they work, how great they are. And these reaction channels were trying to say that I was trying to put down someone else. Non-Western people come in with the hunger that a lot of times, Westerners were spoiled. And I never mentioned race, but these people are trying to make it about race and saying, oh, that's what she really meant. That's what she really said. But it wasn't what I said. And they're putting words into my mouth. And these people, they're bullies. I was joking around with Nick Fuentes, and they said, oh, you can't joke around with him. Sorry, that's my personality. I joke around with anyone.
Yeah,
You didn't offer
exactly.
him enough pushback. Well, sorry, I listen to understand what they're saying. It doesn't mean I agree. And that's the thing what these reaction channels will do. They'll look for a clip of you, or one clip will go viral of you, and they're so scared of their audience that they won't tell you the truth. They won't tell you the context. They don't want to even know the context because they're going to go against their audience. But here, I'm going to tell you guys the truth no matter what. Do you think this is going to help me, this video? Telling you guys the behind the scenes of this? Hell no. But to me, if these people are lying on me, I'm sorry, I got to tell the truth. So Blessing, my producer, who I speak so highly of, I speak so highly of, he was late. And, I said African time. And you know what? They're going to clip this. They're going to say I did this, did that, and I'm a white apologist, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? What they don't know is I was referring to something Blessing said earlier. That's something he says when he walks in the door. And all of these reaction channels are going to come in and say, oh, Pearl shouldn't do that in front of a white supremacist. That's so disrespectful. Well, if my employees were disrespected, that's their job to talk to me.
To be honest, I can go on to even say that Nick was in terms of the guests that we've had so far, quite a nice guy. He didn't carry any ego. He just has views that
He wasn't threatening.
we might not agree.
I think we put him on the spot.
None of them had a problem. I even had one of my producers take a picture with him, and this is the problem is the reaction channels, none of them actually reached out to my employees to see how they're doing, to see if they're okay. Where if they were really outraged about, if they really cared, they would do that. They also cut out a part where Nick made a joke and said he was kidding.
I texted you, I'm on my way because I thought I was already 10 minutes late when I was leaving.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Blessing was more late African.
Well, he's black.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a hard time. I don't mean
And they didn't put in the full clip that he said, oh, I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm kidding. Why would they cut that out? Why would they do that? The other thing they
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I would have laughed too, just because it's a funny joke. A funny joke is a funny joke regardless. And at the end of the day, the people that was actually in the studio, not the people getting upset with Pearly, but the people actually in the studio that they're supposed to be right night for, they didn't even contact them. They truly don't give a damn, in my opinion. And I agree with Pearly on this part. If you truly care about those people' well-being, or I don't know, mental health or whatever they claim to care about, then they would have at least reached out, not make a video about it. And I think that's the difference in my opinion. They did it more for views and clicks compared to the person's actual well-being. They use it as a shot at Pearly instead of a chance to check on somebody they claim to care about.
They put in was that my friend and Nick Fuentes were going back and forth about interracial dating, and that I should have spoken more. I should have spoken up. If Gabby needed help, if Gabby was holding her own, she was holding her own. If she needed help, then I certainly would have helped. But I know the girl, and she was holding her own just fine. So now let's get into MTR's reaction. So
Oh yeah, before I should have said this earlier, but I did actually see the full Nick Fuentes video with Pearly, and honestly, I wasn't offended, hurt, or angry by it. I was just watching it. I don't know, Nick Fuentes' opinion isn't affecting my life, and most people think he's a joke anyway. So, come on, I'm not really worried about people like him.
MTR media. I want to give you guys a little background into my relationship with MTR. If you don't know, 500,000 subscribers, mediocre tutorials and reviews. And I met him when I was in Miami, and I actually spent a good amount of time with him. He flew in for a one-on-one interview, and he actually spent a day with me and my sister. Like, honestly, I felt like I actually opened up to him in a way because I let him meet my family. You know, I mean, that any YouTuber knows we always want to protect our family from the public. And, you know, I introduced him to my sister.
You knowingly invited a white supremacist and a self-proclaimed racist.
I have no problem inviting people that disagree. I have no problem having crazy conversations. I will not apologize for having a controversial guest because I will keep having controversial guests.
Good for you.
My staff is very aware of this. They know this, and if they have an issue with this, they should talk to me, not the internet. And that's the other thing about YouTubers is why the hell are YouTubers that have my number going to the internet before they talk to me? A lot of these YouTubers are so scared to protect their brand that they will throw anyone and everyone under the bus. And it's honestly blood sport, and it's honestly disgusting.
Pearl, you know that your staff is mostly black people. And I'm talking about from a production perspective.
Who you think helped set up the interview? You don't think production, the staff, and the other people that work for her had some type of input, or even knowledge of Nick Fuentes showing up on the show? Like, shit. She literally had like thumbnails and video reminders about it coming up days before it even happened. I remember because I actually saw it on Rumble, one of the few times I've ever watched something on Rumble. So I don't know, I just don't get it, man.
As well as a talent perspective.
MTR, if you were worried about my employees, why didn't you message Blessing? Why didn't you message King? Why didn't you message Helen? You certainly could have reached out to them. You certainly could have asked me for their numbers, but you chose to go to the internet because you were offended for my employees.
I don't think that your platform would be as big as what it is today if it wasn't for the essential utilization of black people, black relationship topics, and black talent.
Okay, this is just nonsense. One reason I think it's nonsense is because she doesn't just have black people on the show. Like, she have people from all nationalities, from all across the world on the show. Shit, my biggest video reacting to her is me talking about how this crazy ass, I think Italian or European woman is talking nonsense about matriarchy and saying matriarchy is the way to go and how there's matriarchal countries still going on, how it's successful. And how I talk about that's bullshit and I debunked it and all that shit. And that was my most popular video. Even still, that was about a white woman, not trashing a black woman. This is just stupid. I hate when people do this. This is when I can't agree with these like Black Manosphere channels. Maybe that's part of the reason why I just decided not to watch them. But I don't even know what they be talking about most of the time. I watch Patrice O'Neal. I watch Kevin Samuels. That's about it. I'm not trying to get deep diving into this Manosphere stuff too much because I don't want to be somebody that's hating women or anything like that. I want to be somebody that's confident, someone that has the right values, and somebody that has skills. I'm not trying to be hating women or trying to debate women and all this, that, and the other. If you're not fucking me, shit, fuck. It's hard to give that amount of emotional investment. Sorry, not really.
I don't know how many times I have said this, and I don't know how many times I have to keep saying this. My platform is not a black platform. How could I have a platform about black issues if I talk about relationships? My last shows, the two that come to my head, why can't we call a hoe a hoe? Trust me, there are hoes in every color.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God, trust me. And how to be a good wife. What's a good wife? They go off the titles and they don't even watch it. And then they make a reaction video saying that I said something I didn't, or my show's about something it's not. You know, I'm not going to say we've never touched on a black topic in a year of shows, but shit, in terms of how often, it's really not. And that's it. Why wouldn't he go through the shows? Why wouldn't he do his due diligence when he spent time with me, he's met me, and we had a great relationship up until he made this hit piece.
Yeah,
and the other accusation he had, you could have had black people in the same room. We did a whole panel with black people in the black. I mean, it was a mix of races, but we certainly had black people there too. So again, it's all of these reaction channels saying this is how you should run the show, but none of them have done it. None of them are that successful. And they want to tell us how to run our shows.
That's
and
true.
the other thing, you know what, and MTR, here's the thing. I am really not about bringing out private things behind the scenes to public. I think it's trashy. But if you're going to publicly accuse me of things and you're going to publicly make a hit piece on me, then I have to publicly defend myself.
Now, what's crazy is that I came across these comments while I was live streaming a couple of days ago. And what
you found out on live is about the clips is just not true. You know it's not true. I don't know why you're lying to your audience.
General, and not once in the interview did you have at least one pro-black stance.
MTR, you said yourself before you released the video, when I asked you, did you watch the full interview? You said no.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Did you watch full video? No, I just went off comments, original comments. I mean, I don't know where she left off at the bottom, but if you didn't watch the full video and you made this whole crazy hit piece, this is crazy.
Oh, so how do you even know? Because that's the thing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what's right. He doesn't care what's true. He cares about appeasing his audience. And that's what all these reaction channels are doing to you.
And along with my accountability, this is now my definitive stance. I can no longer support or associate myself with the Just Pearly Things platform.
MTR, if you don't want to work with me, I fully support that. You don't want to associate with me, I fully support that. Why are you still making money off of the clips from the show on my channel? I'm so offensive. You better take those off. Because now I certainly don't give you permission to use those, because why would I? You don't want to associate with the brand, so take them off. Stop making money off of them.
That's true.
And that's what these people do. They're absolute hypocrites.
I've also have a no beef policy on my platform.
You have a no beef policy on my platform, but you make a hit piece on me? And this is what he's going to do, because this is what the reaction channels do. They never apologize, and they just double down. Then you know what he's going to do? He's going to find another clip, take it out of context, and then say, oh no, well, now that I've watched the full interview. And this is the principle. It's not even that he may have been offended. It's that we are grown adults and you could call me. And yet you choose to go to the internet first. Now, I don't know, where was honor, where was respect, and where was dignity? If someone has been kind enough to allow me into their studio, to, you know, I even introduced you to my family, to spend days shooting content with you, and then you turn around and say you can't associate with the network? What is courageous? To make a hit piece on me? To appease your audience? What's more courageous, to do that? Or to go with the narrative, what everyone's saying. And you know what? You might not say it today, you might not say it tomorrow, but you are absolutely wrong for this. You are absolutely wrong. You quote unquote left the manosphere, but you're still in it. And okay, and let's talk about defamation of character. So this is the thumbnail that MTR put of me. He said in quotes that insinuating that I said that slavery was not that bad. I did not say that. And in fact, in the clip, I said that it was horrible.
The founder of, or the guy who made Roots said, I wanted a myth for my people to live by. So they often, but that's what they do, is they embellish. And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible. It was.
Right.
But they want to make it like more horrible so that they can control people in a way.
How is it not defamation of character to say that I said something I didn't say in the thumbnail? You know, and it's one thing when you do that to someone random or whatever, but you know, and these random clips that circulate on YouTube, but I work on YouTube. That's my livelihood. And it's funny because they act like they care about Black issues, but yet they're trying to damage the reputation of a network that hires majority Black employees. And without even asking the employees, are they offended? How did they take it? And so that's what I'm saying. These content creators get outraged for my employees who were not mad. I didn't even hear about it till after he left. And everyone's going to say, oh, they're secretly offended. They just couldn't tell you. And that's how I know nobody's stepped a foot in my studio, because they absolutely will tell me if they agree, if they don't agree, but they all know signing up to work here, we have controversial guests. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the thumbnail. That's not legal either. It's defamation of character to put in quotes and insinuate I said something I didn't say. I said in that exact clip that you saw, you watched, you reacted to, it wasn't that horrible. And when I asked you, why would you put that I said something I didn't say? Well, it's how the comments interpreted it. And that's not what I meant. And you know it's not what I meant. And that's the worst part, is he knows I'm not a racist. He knows all of this stuff. And I beg you, MTR, name one instance we had where I treated any of my employees unfairly, where I was rude to any of my employees, where I was rude to you, where I was rude to any of our mutual friends. And you know what? In hindsight, I probably would have put out a statement saying he had nothing to do with the Nick Fuentes interview. And I would have been happy to do that if he asked me. But he didn't ask me. And, you know, when you're being called by everyone in the book and then your friend tries to pile on. And again, all of the ideas that I spoke about were from Thomas Sowell, an author of 80 books on the topic. So you could say maybe as a white woman, I shouldn't have said anything about it, but I certainly was quoting someone else. And that's the crazy thing. Oh my gosh. So what did I do? I decided, why don't I put out an apology video just as a test? I wanted to see, would the mob be happy? No, they never accept your apology. And did MTR backtrack and say, you know what? Given that I have spent this much time with her, I was more than willing to work with her before. I had no issues before. But now when the crowd goes one way, I'm going to go with it. Now let's show another clip that could be taken out of context and make it look like this man is racist against white people.
What are we doing to white people? And I was going to say erasing them.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there and save it for part 2, because it's like a 40-minute video. So if I just watch all the way through, it's probably gonna be like an hour long. And now I ain't trying to do all that. So I'll cut this up into 2 parts. So far, I agree with Pearly, at least for the most part. In terms of MTR, I think it would be better if he just reached out to her, or at least just watch the whole damn video instead of coming out with this hit piece and saying all this other stuff. In terms of, like, I don't know, the Nick Fuentes thing, like, you can have on the show who you want to have on the show. You don't have to agree with them to have them on. People, I think for the most part, think Nick Fuentes is a joke and he isn't somebody to be taken seriously. And even, I think himself even knows that because he always like joking around and shit. And they press him on topics, it seems like he just falls apart. And I watched other interviews with him, like the Kanye West Alex Jones one, and he never came off like serious or somebody that's convincing. He just sounded like a crazy college age guy that's, I don't know, popular, and he's riding this wave that he caught on to keep going. I don't take him seriously, and I'm not worried about his, I don't know, ideology getting worse or permeating throughout everybody else. He just seems like a joke to me. Let me know if you disagree with me in the comments down below. It's just part 1. I'm gonna do part 2 either today or tomorrow. Have that uploaded. But that's it for now. It's your boy Logos. Like, share, and subscribe. See you next time. Peace.